Okay, Fred Krueger Metal. I am here with Tomo from Yungbet. I've known Tomo a couple of years from the ESIO gaming gambling days, and we're here to take a deep dive into to gaming on blockchain. And so it's kind of a new thing, although there has been Satoshi Dice and stuff for a long time. But let's take a deep dive into why this might be an interesting area for blockchain and kind of what the current status is in the different shades of kind of gray that this whole area is in. So Tomo, thanks for joining.
Thank you for having me.
Give me a little bit of a sense. Give us and give the Real Vision people a sense of why you're interested in gaming. What's the opportunity here with blockchain?
Gaming is right now. Gaming has been stuck for about 20 years in the same cycles. You have lottery, you have poker. Okay, you put it on a website. That's about it, right? Why would I play online poker when I can go to the table? I can see someone with their eyes, this or that. And online poker, really, Poker Stars, all this, they did, innovate. But at the same time, they had their own issues at the same time. They're a little bit too early. The regulation wasn't ready to keep up. And right now, gaming and video games are this is the newest opportunity to expand the industry than it's ever been before. There's never been a new subset of gaming that is completely separate from sports betting, from games of chance, games of skill. This is finally a new avenue. And, Unicorn CEO Rahul, he actually calls this a brownfield opportunity. A brownfield opportunity is you have an aging customer base. Customer acquisition costs in gambling and gaming is very, very high. Second, lack of technological innovation. Why? Because you have regulatory moats around these industries. You have MGM, you have, the top 3 gaming companies. They don't need to innovate because they have politicians and laws that protect them. So technologically, they have had no need to innovate at all. Blockchain has actually skip that step where normally, the regulation would come in, you can't start this, what are you thinking? Suddenly, when you're in an open source environment and anyone just interacts with a protocol, you don't need permission, you don't need this. Why do I need regulation? Okay, if I go to Riverboat Casino in Missouri, how do I even know they have enough bankroll to pay me out my winnings? The regulation assures you that. In a decentralized world, you don't need that assurance from regulation. You can get that in a smart contract. I can audit their bankroll instantly, and I know for a fact at what point they can pay me out and what they can't.
Right. So tell us a little bit about the history of this area and in the different blockchains, right? Because at the beginning when we talked, you said multiple blockchains. That's the key. Why don't you start kind of from what were some of the early successes in this area?
The earliest success, not even success, if you look at Satoshi in his early writings in Bitcoin Talk, he actually had a poker engine inside the Bitcoin source code. Not many people know about this, actually.
Right.
It was actually in the source code, and he said, hey, this is a really good avenue on how you can use a decentralized currency. One of the first games that ever really came out, as you mentioned earlier, Satoshi Dice. And, it's a really simple game. It's a dice game. It's a slots machine. However, the simple fact is no one needed permission to operate that. And funny enough, I talked to the founder of Satoshi Dice, Eric Voorhees. He does Shapeshift now. Right. And I asked him, hey, why'd you stop doing Satoshi Dice? Why didn't you keep going? Why didn't you get a license? And he just told me it was a personal preference. For him, either he could have kept Satoshi Dice going and he could have been the biggest in gaming and gambling with Bitcoin. But that's not what he wanted to do. That wasn't his interest. So he sold Satoshi Dice and started Shapeshift. But that was in the early days. And, this is before Ethereum. This is before programmable money or however they want to call it, decentralized applications. Satoshi Dice is a decentralized application. It might have a centralized server, this or that. But if their currency is Bitcoin, no one can seize that. No one can print more. It is one of the earliest applications of it.
So what about the Ethereum world? What happened? What changed when you got to Ethereum? Were there any interesting Ethereum things that really took hold, or in any shape or form?
In Ethereum, there's two sides of it. You have gaming in the traditional sense of, casino games, lottery, this or that. Then you have gaming on the other side, the NFTs,
Right.
721s. That's really where the divergence is. Like, they have the same goal in mind. However, fundamentally, they're separate items because of marketing. The incentive systems for me to speculate on CryptoKitties is completely different from me speculating on a decentralized casino. They have different incentive models. They attract different users, and technologically they're different. But when you look at their websites, they look very similar. But
so CryptoKitties obviously had a huge. It was like the biggest application on Ethereum in sort of late 2017, but then it kind of fizzled out very quickly, right? So, are anybody still doing a lot of gaming stuff on Ethereum, or is that pretty much over?
I think it's just what you're seeing in DeFi right now in Uniswap. I'm paying $50, $70 a transaction.
Right.
Like, imagine you try to play a game and it costs $50 to make a rule. It's not possible. And CryptoKitties just showed, everyone says ETH 2.0, ETH 2.0. When is that? I've been hearing ETH 2.0. Fred, you've talked about this for years now. We've been waiting on ETH for 3 years. Here's the thing. As a developer, I have bills to pay. I can't be waiting on Vitalik to come and save me from this chain. So my only option is to go to a side chain, make my own chain. There's different avenues that you can pursue. But the thing is, that doesn't mean you abandon blockchain or this or that. There's all these benefits. But that's why I personally pursued EOS, as because I saw it as, always said, it's not centralized, or it's not decentralized enough. It's too centralized. There's only 21 block producers, this or that, the voting, governance. All of these things can be resolved. But at the end of the day, for me as a developer, I don't really care. I want to build a product that works.
What about Tron? What about Tron as a blockchain?
Tron,
that's really taken off. I mean, and Tron, as far as the gaming stuff, right?
I think Tron is the original sushi swap. They vampire attacked Ethereum. They stole their source code, forked it. But the thing is, the few changes, the difference between Uniswap and Sushi Swap was a governance token. That's it. One simple mechanism. However, Tron's whole thing, they stole Ethereum's thing, and then they're like, transaction fees are low, and then, or non-existent. And you're like, what's the big deal? That's a huge deal for developers. And right now, you're seeing this right now on Uniswap, Sushi Swap, whatever, on Ethereum. It's too expensive to actually yield farm. So now on Tron, JustSwap launched, and they've had huge volumes, and the yield opportunities are
I'm really amazed. I'm really amazed at JustSwap, because I was looking at on DApp Radar, and they are doing about 13,000 daily active users on JustSwap. That's more than Uniswap, in terms of not more in terms of dollars, but more in terms of active users, certainly, right? So to your point, you take out these big fees, and all of a sudden everybody kind of gets a little bit interested in doing some farming,
And the only reason people aren't building on Tron is the tribalism in crypto communities. It's too much tribalism. They have too much messiah figures that I can never support a project like Justin, this or that. I've built on Unity. I don't know who the CEO of Unity is. I didn't care, because the product worked, and that's all I cared about. So to me, I don't care about Justin Sun. I care, does the Tron blockchain work? It does work. And there's a lot of interoperability between Tron and EOS, because they have pushed more on the focus. Do we want to be philosophically correct in the long run? And philosophically, Ethereum might be right in the long run in 10, 20 years. But
Right.
how about right now, in the next 3, 5 years?
If you
You
had to
are
guess, when do you think ETH2 is going to actually? I'm not saying demo, but actually be like, so it is the standard, so that everybody is using ETH is going to be using ETH2. You have to take a guess. What year are we talking about? Next year or the year after?
20,
Or further?
2024.
Okay.
I say 4 years simply because how long did Python 2 die? Python 2 wasn't even obsolete. It took over 10 years. 10 years ago, they said Python 2 was going to go away. It took over 10 years after that. So even when ETH 2.0 comes out, it's going to be another fork because there's going to be people that are going to keep the ETH 1 chain, just like they want to keep the Ethereum Classic chain. And so just because we moved to proof of stake and you don't like that model, there's going to be games still live on ETH1. And so there will be, I think, when Ethereum goes to proof of stake, we're going to have 3 chains. We're going to have Ethereum Classic, the original chain with all the DAO drama. We're going to have Ethereum, what they wanted to be. The Ethereum community is very good at marketing because, they always like to say it went from becoming the global computer to now DeFi and the global banking system. It's just one narrative after another. But fundamentally, how does that work for you as a dApp? As a dApp developer, you can't. As a dApp developer, the second you allow a chain to control your destiny, you're handcuffing yourself to these founders that have zero self-interest in your success.
Tomo, I'm going to call it. Stop it here. I think that was a pretty interesting thing, and we'll carry it on another episode of this. So thanks a lot, and I think you've been very educational. Thanks a lot.
Sounds good.
Thanks. Bye.